Every night, without fail, we'd see them. Grinning faces pressed against our windows, but no matter how many times we locked the doors and shut the blinds, they always knew where to appear. I never thought much about the bungalow we rented in the middle of nowhere. A friend of mine had suggested it for a quiet weekend getaway, just the two of us, a chance to get away from the chaos of city life. It seemed perfect, isolated, peaceful, and surrounded by nothing but trees. There was no sign of neighbors for miles, and the nearest town was about 30 minutes away by car. We arrived on a Friday evening, the sun setting, as we pulled up the long, winding driveway. The bungalow was small but cozy, with weathered wood panels and a large porch that overlooked the dense forest. Inside, it was simple but comfortable. A small living room, a kitchen, and a couple of bedrooms. The air smelled fresh, like pine and earth. It was exactly what we needed. Quiet, remote, and far from the noise we were used to. The first night was peaceful. We made dinner, enjoyed some wine, and sat on the porch as the sky darkened, the stars shining brightly overhead. But as the night wore on, I began to feel a subtle unease. It wasn't anything I could put my finger on, just a lingering discomfort in the back of my mind. Around midnight, we retired to our respective rooms. I was just about to fall asleep when I heard the sound of something faintly tapping against my window. It was soft, like a twig brushing against the glass. I sat up, straining my ears, but then it stopped. I chalked it up to the wind. After all, we were surrounded by trees, and they could make strange noises at night. But when I turned to close the blinds, I froze. There, pressed against the glass, was a face. It was pale, its features distorted by the darkness. Eyes wide open, a grin stretching unnaturally across its face. I could barely make out the details, but I could see the teeth, sharp and too white in the night. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest. I rushed to the door, flung it open, and ran outside. But there was nothing there.
No sign of anyone.
No footsteps in the dirt, nothing at all. I checked every corner of the yard, my breath coming in ragged gasps. It was empty. The only sound was the wind rustling through the trees. I told myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I locked the windows and doors, convinced I was just being paranoid, and tried to go back to sleep. It wasn't until the next night that things really started to spiral. The second night was eerily similar. We had a quiet evening, the house growing still as the hours passed. I was lying in bed, half awake, when I heard the familiar tapping sound again. It was light at first, like someone gently knocking on the window. My heart skipped a beat. I lay still, listening, and then there it was. A face, this time at the corner of the window. It was the same as the night before, pale, grinning, eyes wide. But this time, it was clearer. The face was pressed so hard against the glass, its features deformed, like it was trying to push through. The grin seemed to stretch impossibly wide, and the eyes were too big, too bright. I jumped out of bed, my pulse racing, and ran to the window, yanking open the blinds. But once again, there was nothing. There was no one outside. I checked every window, double-checked the locks. Everything was secure. I went outside, searching the area with a flashlight, but found nothing. This time, I was sure I wasn't imagining it. The air felt heavy, like something was pressing in on me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Convinced myself I was just being paranoid, but when I went back inside, I realized that the night was far from over. By the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. The faces, the grinning, the whispers in the wind, it was too much. I had to know what was going on. This time, I wasn't going to wait for it to happen again. I decided I'd stay up, watch the windows, and see if I could catch whoever or whatever was causing this. I sat in the living room, the lights dimmed, staring at the windows. My nerves stretched taut. Every creak of the house, every rustle of the trees outside had me on edge. But as the clock struck midnight, I saw it. The same face, appearing at the window again, just like the last 2 nights. But this time, there were more faces at different windows, each one grinning in the same twisted, unnatural way. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. They weren't just at one window, they were at all of them. 4 faces in total, all pressed against the glass, staring in. The air around me seemed to grow colder, the darkness outside thicker. I could feel the weight of their gaze, the unblinking eyes, the grin that never faltered. I grabbed my phone and dialed my friend, but the call wouldn't go through. The signal was gone. Panicking, I ran from window to window, but no matter which one I looked through, the faces were always there. It was as if they were following me, moving from window to window faster than I could keep up with. Each time I looked, they were closer. The grins were wider, the eyes darker. I rushed to the front door, intending to leave, but when I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. The handle turned, but the door was stuck. My heart pounded as I pulled harder, but it wouldn't open. I turned to look around the room. My only option now was to escape through the back. But as I reached for the door, I heard something. A voice, faint but unmistakable, whispered from behind me. "We're not going anywhere." I spun around, but there was nothing there. The faces were gone. The windows were empty. The house was silent again. I left the bungalow the next morning. I couldn't stay there anymore. I didn't care about finishing the weekend. I was done. And even now, months later, I can still feel the weight of those grinning faces. I haven't gone back to that place. But sometimes, late at night, I can still hear the tapping against my window. And I swear sometimes I see them again watching from the corner of my eye, their twisted smiles waiting.